Good Tuesday early afternoon to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities TRU, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Big broad picture, we have somewhat of a ridge of higher pressure that's off to the west across most of the country. And we have this departing area of low pressure associated with a trough that's shifting further to the east and to the northeast and out of the region gradually. That leaves us still with a northwesterly flow and kind of what we call the baroclinic zone, where temperatures, I'm going to pull up dew points, and you can see that dew point temperatures are in the 60s here. That's pretty moist, but further to the north, they're in the 50s, and then finally drier weather. The latest temperature scenario looks like this. We're looking at cooler, drier weather to the north, warm, humid, hot weather to the south. This is the frontal boundary that kind of illustrates that point, and we continue with these little short waves just kind of rolling in from the northwest, a little bit north of the Great Lakes. This weather pattern is one that's going to feature a little bit of shower activity just about every day, but nothing of any great shakes until something that gets a little bit more organized. Latest European model, and you can see the increments here, and a little bit of precipitation passing off to the south and west. This is valid about 3 o'clock this Tuesday afternoon. Then we have this little incoming bit and piece of precipitation that's also pushing in, that's going to be arriving later this, either late today or more really into the evening hours for tonight. It does kind of split, a little bit of a more northerly precipitation, a little bit more southerly precipitation. You'll see that split sort of here. And the area of low pressure kind of holding back with the best moisture sources across parts of New York and into portions of southern Vermont and then finally southern New England. This is valid during the day tomorrow, Wednesday. And you can see there's just very light amounts of precipitation, the gray here. So we're not looking at anything major, and it may not even precipitate. Now, late in the day, a little bit more of an uptick in shower activity for basically Wednesday. And this also means we might see some thunderstorm activity as well. And that looks like it lines up across mainly the northern one half of Vermont, as the southern portions of New England also get a sort of a swath there. And these are tricky forecasts. Now, this is going into Wednesday evening, and then things kind of dissipate out. That's been the mainstay. And then another little bit of shower activity works in across the northern tier regions during Thursday morning and into the afternoon. And then that kind of lifts on out. And then latest indications are that Friday may try to become a dry day. It's not until relatively late in the day that we see a little bit of precipitation starting to work in here. And this is into, you can see this is a 0Z Friday evening. And then suddenly a streak. This jumps about 6 hours, so it kind of moves in quickly. But that's going to be developing over the evening hours. And this is a frontal boundary that's going to push through, and it may activate some thunderstorm activity, and something we'll have to keep an eye on. That will be, again, Friday, mainly in the evening hours. And then this is about 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. That exits out. And then a little bit more on Sunday. As you can see, a little bit more here. Very discombobulated weather pattern. The other thing we want to take a close eye on here, I'm going to run this back just a little bit, is this will be the makings of CRISTOBAL. This is a tropical cyclone that's trying to develop in the vicinity of the Yucatan Peninsula. And the latest indications are it's heading basically for around the area around Houston. So you can kind of see this, how this is working. And then it goes inland and makes a kind of a slow right turn. But you can see where maybe some of that moisture may make it up this far north before it tracks a little bit to the south of us. This is valid next week. During about 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So this is a long ways out. I wouldn't worry too much about it just yet. This is the Canadian and GFS ensemble, and you can see just little bits and pieces. This is 3-hourly QPF, little showers just about every day. There's no real good stretches of any dry weather until you get really into early next week. And in terms of total QPF, it's really not a big deal. It's under 1 inch. This is only 0.6 of an inch, so you can see that over time, it's really rather dry. Latest indications from the Weather Prediction Center. This is 7-day total accumulated precipitation, and we're looking at about 1/2 inch. This is 1/4 of an inch, so a little drier southeastern portions of New England, a little wetter as you get closer to New York, but again, not a whole lot of precip. Okay, this is our 2-meter temperature forecast, and you can see that A chillier day with a little bit of an uptick here once we get into Friday, a little bit of a downtick early next week, and so forth. And we're starting to see this continual oscillation in temperature. However, it is not as extreme as it was about 5 to 7 days ago. Dew point temperature is a little bit of a different deal here. Mostly in the 50s and below 55 degrees. However, the GFS Canadian Ensemble wants to bring it up a little bit higher than that. In fact, that's tomorrow afternoon, excuse me. And then a little bit of a downtick, and then you can see the slight oscillations. Looking at the precipitable water field, we'll kind of iron this out a little bit better. Kind of gives you a little bit of an uptick, but 1.1 inches, which is not a big deal this time of year. And then it dries out, and then we get moisten up again, and then it dries out a lot more as we go into early next week. And that seems to be the program, with fairly decent agreement now with the GFS and the European. Here's the 5-day weighted temperatures from the Meteorological Output Statistics, or MOS guidance. And we're basically the next 5 days weighted temperatures were about neutral. Colder to the north and east, warmer to the south and west. And about 3 days later, it looks like this. We finally get in there, so a little bit of an uptick in temperature. Probably Friday's weighted into next week just a bit. And that's the latest 3 to 7 day prediction. We're seeing the colder than normal temperatures over the northeast United States, over a portion of Canada, but it's warming up off to the west of us, and that is where our next little warming trend looks like it's going to start to work in. This is taken from earlier today. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.